This is the Yeedi mop station. It is a vacuuming and mopping robot that cleans its own mopping pads. It is similar in that respect to the Narwhal T10 and the Dream W10, but it is a budget alternative to those robots that cost several $100s less. When Yeedi sent me this robot, they wanted me to compare it to the BravoJet M6, but I'm not going to do that because this robot can do this, and the BravoJet M6 can't. And because it can't, it's not a whole house solution for most people, so it's not really a good comparison. So because this is a budget robot, it does not have LiDAR. It uses camera-based navigation, VSLAM, which no robot should be using in 2022. Hello, iRobot. So it's limited in these tests where you tell it to clean a small area because it doesn't, its cleaning algorithm kind of suffers in these small areas. But the areas that it does pass over, it does a very good job. The exhaust doesn't blow anything around. In fact, I can feel it on my face as I'm standing over it. So if it doesn't miss a spot like it does there in the middle, it does a great job, and it does not do a perimeter pass at all. Like not the first time, not the second time at all. No perimeter pass. So that it suffers there. But other than that, it's a very good hard floor cleaning robot. Well, other than the fact that it left this one spot, the fact that it doesn't do a perimeter pass really shows here. And of course, when it went over here, it kicked some stuff out in the middle of the floor. But other than that, it cleans really well. It picked up all the flour, and where it actually passed, it picked up all the oatmeal, oregano, and dog hair. And as you noticed, the exhaust was not blowing the dog hair around, so that was very good. All right, so on to dry mopping. This is dried mustard, milk, and wine. I may have overdid it with the milk a little bit here. Spilled a tiny bit more than I normally do. Now, as you can see, this thing does overlap its own course, but not a lot. And I'll talk about that more when I review the results. But I'm going to send it in for another pass. It also doesn't have as much down pressure as other robots. All right, so it did a good job with the mustard, except here, which I think is a coverage issue. Like, I think it just didn't go over this particular spot. The milk didn't do a very good job at all, and the wine is still kind of sticky. So, again, this is an extreme test. It's not the greatest mop on the market, certainly, but it's one of the better ones, especially with the performance on most of the mustard. It's also a coverage issue where it did pass over them twice, but unlike some of the other mops, its cleaning algorithm doesn't seem to have a very good overlap. I'm going to send it here again just to simulate what would happen if it did have that kind of overlap, and then we'll see what the results are. So because I actually use the products I review in my own home, I can tell you that this is a good mop. If I have it clean overnight, I wake up and these black floors of mine look good. No complaints there. So again, as I said, these tests are extreme. So you could see what it does in the tests, and that gives you an indication of how it does compared to other models, but not a really fair indication of how it works in your home overall. So as an aside here, I just want to show you that this thing is very low to the ground and it can pass under things that most other robots can't. So that makes it a little bit more versatile than many other robots. All right, after the second round of 2 passes, the mustard is gone, the milk is still there, and the wine is gone. And so there's no streaking. And so the issue here is, well, maybe a tiny bit of streaking. But the issue here is the coverage. So because this thing doesn't have very good coverage, like some of the other robots, as I mentioned, it doesn't necessarily mop as well. And that's something that could be fixed in firmware. It's not a hardware issue. Hardware-wise, I think it mops as well as any of them. And 4 passes of this takes less time than a single pass of the BravoJet M6. So there's that. So as far as hair tangles go, this is not the greatest. I just pulled this out of here. But then again, my dog is shedding, so this is like the worst time of the year. It's not great, but it's not bad. So again, this is like the worst possible scenario for fur and hair and all that kind of stuff. And this robot does know when its brush is tangled. So that's a huge positive for this. This let me know that that it was tangled, and it stopped the robot, and told me to clean it up. So Okay, so for the carpet test, we've got my usual cat and dog hair, and then we've got oatmeal on the red low pile carpet and pepper flakes on the beige medium pile carpet. So with this thing, I couldn't get it to find the area because we'll see in the app later, the map is very rudimentary, but it left like a quarter of the carpet unclean. But that's, I thought maybe that was okay because it would serve as a contrast. But there really isn't that much of a contrast because I don't know if there's something wrong with my particular robot, though I can't imagine what it would be because its suction is strong and it does a great job on hard floors. But it did a really terrible job on the carpet, both medium and low pile. And the Yeedi Vac Max it was a very similar robot, I think, with less suction, and it did a much better job than this. But again, I don't know what could be wrong with this, but at least my robot is terrible, terrible for carpets. But its navigation is a vast improvement over the Yeedi Vac Max. With that one, I don't know if you remember, if you watched that video, it basically made random zigzag passes like dozens of times over the carpet, and after a while I basically just turned it off and said, okay, it's clean. But this is doing a very good job of navigating around once it finishes its map. Like most of these V-Slam robots, it's not good at mapping, but once it maps, it's good at navigating. Alright, so I didn't have any luck trying to get it to clean this last quarter of carpet. You can't really tell very much difference in where it did clean and where it didn't. It's awful on low pile carpeting, and it's pretty bad on medium pile too. So if you have carpets, this is a do not buy product. For those of you who are wondering how I clean up carpets that robots don't clean very well, the Dream T30. This thing is a monster. So it's like typical robots of this type. You've got your dirty water tank, and you've got your clean water tank. This one you dump in the toilet. This one you fill in the sink, so we're gonna go do that. It's mostly full, but that's how you fill it. You can also fill it through this little rubber thing here, but I don't even see the point of that. I use Roborock detergent, like I do in all of my mopping robots. It seems to work the best and doesn't cause clogs, so you could do that. I guess if you don't want to wear out this plastic latch, this is a better idea. Empty dirty water tank back in, and that's that. Now to change the robot from mopping to vacuuming, you have to take it out. This is a very large dustbin. So this is in vacuum only mode. This is the mop and vacuum unit. You can't do just mopping, at least not that I've found. Tiny dustbin. I mean, it's big enough for one cleaning run, but this one can be left uncleaned for days, depending on how big your house is. So you can also remove these pads for changing. Get out of there. It doesn't want to come out with one hand. There we go. So it's a pretty standard system. You got a little magnet there. Get it back in, if I can. Get in there. There we go. Now these, let's look at it here. They do compress a little bit, but not as much as some others, meaning there's not as much play there, so there's not as much tension really on them as on some robots, which is why in the cleaning test you saw that the scrubbing performance was okay, but not on par with something like the Dream W10, and especially not the Roborock S7 or S7 Max V. But it is a good mop, and at the price, it's pretty hard to beat.
Switched to vacuum and mopping mode.
Now as far as this goes, this part doesn't come out, so it's a little bit of a pain in the butt to clean, but it's not awful. They do give you a brush, which I stuck behind here, so you can use this to clean it out. You want to make sure that the water ports are clear. So this is very much like the Echovac's X1 Omni, where none of this comes out. But it's a pretty robust system. There really aren't any moving parts in here. When the brush is clean, the pads themselves spin on these agitators, and then the dirty water is sucked up. So it's a pretty good system. It'd be nice if this came out so you could have an easier time cleaning it, but it's not the end of the world. So I mentioned that this was a budget robot, and nowhere is that more evident than the app. So the map here is very basic, and it doesn't let you divide it into rooms. So once it creates the map, it makes its little divisions, and that's it. You can't change them. So this is definitely not meant for any sort of large area. Now you can create no-go zones or no mop zones, but that's about all you can do with this map. That's a deliberate thing from Yeedi, and those of you who know which company Yeedi's a part of know exactly why they did this. Other than that, it's a fairly typical app. It's got all the normal features. You can change settings. It's got a schedule that you can set, accessory usage, cleaning log, that sort of thing. So other than the fact that they crippled the map feature, it's a fairly normal, if basic, app. So again, this is a budget offering, so if you have a small apartment, you should buy it. If not, you shouldn't, unless of course you have carpets, and you shouldn't buy this at all. So in conclusion, it's a good robot. It's a good vacuum. It's a good robot for hard floors. I don't know if there's something wrong with mine, or if all of these are terrible on carpets. And I did clean those hair tangles out before I did the carpet tests. As you saw in the video, the carpet was clean when I did that. And the filter was almost new, so I don't know what it could be. But it's very good on hard floors. It's a very good mop. It's not the best mop, but then again, this is a budget robot, and it's a better mop, for example, than the Ecovac's X1 Omni. So, and that costs, I think, 3 times or double now because the price dropped what this thing costs. So should you buy this, if you live in a small apartment and you want a mopping robot that washes its own mopping pads, and you don't want to spend, the money for a Dream W10, then sure, you should buy this. But then again, only if it's maybe below $500 or somewhere around there, because if you spend just a little bit more, the Dream W10 or the Norwell T10 are better alternatives. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like this video. It helps me make more content. Until next time, I'm Mike, and this is Mr. Rumbato.